Hi there, I am Joleene Moody. Thank you so very much for taking the time to watch this video. It is my intention that you walk away with lots of little gold nuggets that you can start utilizing right now. So grab pen and paper, and we're going to get right into the content. I am the Unstuck Consultant, so I make it my mission to teach women entrepreneurs how to make more money in their business enthusiastically and fearlessly. And I do this by teaching a method that I call scripting. And here's the idea of scripting. I take your business, the words that come from your heart, we have that, and I integrate it with a psychological sales scripting that when you merge them together, everything changes. This is where you learn how to handle when people say, I'm sorry, I just can't afford it. Or, gosh, I've got to talk to my husband first. Or, I don't know, I'm kind of on a budget right now. There's two pieces to this. Something kind of was missed in the conversation prior, and we'll work through that. Or you just haven't actually found the way to close the sale successfully. So we're going to turn that completely around for you. And I have to tell you that when I started using this method, and I've been crafting it over the past year, my sales increased by 783%. 783%. True story. I have a client I've been working with only 4 weeks so far. We've just begun. She has seen a 300% increase in her sales, and she's not even close to being done. We've only just begun, her and I. So these shifts, when you experience them, here's the beauty. Your confidence soars because you have that confirmation within you that, yes, I do have this. So this is really, really effective for the whole gamut of you folks. If you're just starting out in business and you don't know how to have the conversation, perfect. If you've been in business for a while and you notice that the conversation is just dying and it's not going anywhere, you've hit that proverbial glass ceiling, as they say, this is your tool. And I'm excited to share it with you. And I'm very, very grateful that you're here and listening to me now. So like I said, grab the pen and paper. Let's take some notes and we'll get right into it. And I want you to know right up front, there's nothing that I teach that I don't do myself. So there's nothing that's going to come out of my mouth during our time here right now that I haven't experienced or implemented myself. And it's made me very, very successful. And I'm grateful for that. So I'm happy to share it with you. And at the end of this video, I'm going to teach you the number one way to handle all of those rebuttals. And that's the beauty of a script, is sometimes we find ourselves stumbling and fumbling for the words. That's not going to happen to you anymore. You're going to have smooth sailing. I'm giving you Linus's blanket. It's that security blanket. You know how people always talk about you have to get comfortable stepping out of your comfort zone. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to be stepping out of your comfort zone anytime you do something different, right? This time you're stepping out with Linus's blanket, so it's not painful. You don't feel that ickiness, and that's the beauty of this. Lots of times people say, oh my gosh, I just feel kind of icky, if I have to call somebody, or I'm not sure, it just doesn't feel right. No, that's going to disappear because we're going to talk about three things. The first thing we're going to talk about is the psychology behind the actual language and how to understand that you have to come from a place of authenticity. When you are authentic and in your element and very relaxed with what you do, the fear disappears. Those barriers are gone. So the number one thing, write this down, that we're going to talk about is selling in an authentic way that doesn't feel manipulative. So this is great if you happen to be one of those people that are super uncomfortable picking up the phone. This is really going to come in handy for you. And we're going to talk about the difference between sales and service. There's a huge difference between sales and service. Sales is that icky. Sales is when you're just in it for the money. If you're familiar with Sandra Taylor, she's an author. She talks about this concept called paradoxical intent. And what that is when we have the intention to go out there and do good, or we have the intention to, we're trying so hard to close the sale, for example. Our intention is good. We want to close the sale. We know this person needs our product. But because we're trying so hard, the energy and the purpose completely disappears. And so what happens? We don't end up getting them as a client. We're sending out uncertainty. We're getting back uncertainty. So the second thing that we're going to talk about is learning how to script your pitch. This is invaluable. And I want you to know that when I say pitch, know that I mean anytime, any kind of conversation you have with anyone, anywhere. I know lots of times people say, I don't know, I'm kind of uncomfortable, just saying, hey, you want to be part of my team? Or, hey, I think you need a little bit of coaching. Or, maybe I can help you with your website. And we have all that uncertainty. When you are in that place of certainty and comfortable and you know what to say, all of that disappears. Here's an example. I was on a weekend retreat at a spiritual center in New York State. And the girl that I was with, the friend that I was with, we ran into these two sisters and we ended up bonding with them during the dinner hour. So we met them in line. There was only 2 restaurants in town and they were both very busy. So we had time to kind of get to know each other while we were standing in line, and we ended up having dinner together, all 4 of us. And during the conversation, the woman across from me started talking about this change that she wanted to experience. She wanted to be a writer. She wanted to be a money empowerment coach, and she had no idea where to begin. You better believe I pulled that tool out that I needed. And I ended up creating a conversation with her that ended, not just there, because we're someplace where we're letting work go. But we generated the conversation where I scheduled a consultation with her about 4 days later when we were home, and I closed her as a client. So that's what I mean. That script, that sales pitch can be used anywhere, and you will always find that the people that are in front of you, they're the people that you are supposed to sell to. And you're not supposed to feel icky about that. So we're going to talk about scripting that pitch. And there are 2 pieces to it. So when you engage in conversation with someone like this woman, for example, what I had with her was a very short consultation called a pre-consultation, very small conversation where I said, write this down and we're going to talk more. When she gave me what she was looking for and the struggling that she had and the pieces she needed to grow, I said to her, I have some ideas and suggestions around that I think that will help you. Why don't we set up a time to talk on the phone and we'll pound those out? And she said, okay, so great. So I got her contact information. We scheduled the conversation for 3 days later. And that's when I launched into the second piece of the language. And that was the actual consultation. And that's where you hear all those rebuttals that we're going to talk about. I don't know, I can't afford it. All of those things. So we're going to talk about that. And before you know it, when you merge the words that come from your heart and the way you truly feel about your work with the scripting and it comes together, your income, boop, it turns right around. It's amazing. There's a large percentage of sales out there that you should be closing and you're not. And for no other reason other than it's time to change the conversation. Does that make sense? The things that worked a long time ago, the network marketing pieces and conversations maybe you were trained to do in the past, they're not working now. People are in a place where it's a very fast-paced world. It's unfortunate, but it's true. So you have to actually learn how to integrate with that and learn how to have the conversation with people and learn how to create that sense of urgency so they understand what it is that they need and why they need it. And I've got a fun example I'm going to share with you. So, and of course, we're going to talk about the big one, the number one way to handle when people say, I can't afford it. Language meets psychology. And you're going to have 5 or 6 different nuggets to take away with this so that when someone says something to you or has a rebuttal, you know how to respond back and how to keep that conversation going and make them realize that they do need your service because you're there to serve. And that's the biggest piece of all of this. There's a difference between sales and service. We're talking about service. We're talking about you recognizing that it is within your integrity to share what you have and what you know. If you know someone out there needs your service, you tell them. You share it with them. If you feel uncertain, that's going to break this wall down. All of this is going to break that wall down. So, and we're also going to talk about how to handle objections, right? But we're going to practice the 3 strikes and you're out rule. Because you don't want to get in there and hammer and hammer and hammer and hammer. I mean, if you've had people like that in front of you, you don't want to be that person. And that's what we're avoiding. That's the difference between sales and service. So the first time they object, you've got 2 more shots. And they're gentle. And they're effective. And they make them aware of the lack that they have. Because when you show them that and that you're the solution, that's when everything changes. And I wish I had a zillion hours to share this with you, and I don't. So I want to give you more of this. If you're interested in taking your language and mixing it with what I know, and we're going to talk about this content, I want to give you a 1-hour strategy session that is jam-packed with this information. So what we'll do is we'll get on the phone, we'll Skype, we're going to talk about your business, and you're going to get passionate about it. Because when we enter in that conversation, I'm going to know what it is that you feel about your business. When you speak from your heart, that's where that authenticity comes in, and it's vital. So we're going to take that, and the pieces that are missing, that's where I come in. And we're going to merge it together. So if you want to do that and create a script that's going to change things for you right now, below is the link that you're going to click on to do that. Go ahead and click on the link, enter your email address, and then you'll be prompted to a page with a big yellow button for your complimentary session. Click on that baby right there and enter the information necessary, and we'll schedule something, and this will be a go. And like I said, boop, you'll see things change. It would be my pleasure to share that with you. I mean, the change I had, that was significant for me. It made me realize so many things on so many different levels, and that is that possibilities are endless. And when we just change the conversation and play with the art of the language, it's all good. And everything is there that you need. So it would be my pleasure to share that hour with you and really understand what your business is so we can merge it and create that perfect script. I want to give you Linus's blanket. Okay, let's get into the content. Number 1, selling in an authentic way that doesn't feel manipulative. I said in the beginning, if you're in it for the money, you're in it for all the wrong reasons. Here's something that's going to sound, and this is going to look backwards to you because of my camera. Have you ever seen this before? The perfect tortilla pan set. Okay, here's the story around that. This is what they look like, by the way. It's this curvy looking groovy pan. Here's the story behind it. First of all, I want to start by saying when someone doesn't know about your product or service, don't think for a second that they don't need it. Okay, this is where this little pan comes in. I had a conference one night, and I asked my girlfriend Jody if she would watch my daughter Madison. Madison is 10, and Jody has 2 boys close to the same age. So she took my daughter for the day, and she fed my daughter dinner. And when I went to pick up Maddie was so excited to tell me about dinner. Oh, Mom, it was so good. We had these tortilla shell things, and they were crispy, and Jody let us put all these different toppings in, and it was yummy. And I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And she was so excited about it. And I thought, what is this magical thing that has my daughter so excited? So when I got home, I called Jody, and I asked her, what is this magical thing that has my daughter so excited? And she said, oh, it's the perfect tortilla pan. I'm like, what is that? She said, you know those round tortillas you buy at the store? You basically put it in the pan, and you put the pan in the oven, and you bake it, and it comes out in this groovy shape, and you just fill it with all these different toppings. I'm like, are you kidding me? And now I've seen these in restaurants. You can order a taco bowl. But what this did is it clicked this light bulb for me. This I saw as something that could save me at least twice a month when it comes to dinner. Something that's quick and simple. This was a huge light bulb moment for me because here's the cool part. The next day, true story, I was out at Joann Fabrics, which is a really popular fabric store in my neck of the woods. And I walked past an end cap, and these were just lined with it. This product. And I went, oh my gosh. And I bought it. Now, if I hadn't had that conversation with Jody the day before, I would have never known that this was something I needed. Do you see what I'm talking about? And, I mean, if she was a rep for the company, she'd be making millions of dollars. She's not. She's just a mom that was sharing it with me. But the point is that people don't know what you can do. People don't know what they need. Most often, until you tell them. We can't possibly know everything, right? This has really taught me to listen. And listening is vital. Because when you listen to other people, you know those pieces and those little gaps that you can fill, the things that they need, that you can fill with your service. So, so selling in that authentic way, it didn't feel manipulative to her. And like I said, she wasn't a rep. But the conversation was so relaxed and so easy. And she made me realize there was something out there I needed. And that's key. Another piece of this is when you sell authentically, I had said there's no barriers. There's no fear. There's no question to the integrity of you or your product when you just relax into it and you change the conversation. And this is where there is a big difference between sales and service. So sales is that icky feeling. When we always think of the car salesman with a checkered jacket, all they're interested in is what's in it for them. No. When you come from a place of service, your interest should be in what's in it for that client and how you can serve that client. And when you convey that, that's that authenticity coming right through. It's real. It's palpable. They know it. They can feel it. You've heard the phrase know, like, and trust. That's what that's about. Being you, being 100%. And here's the thing. When you get the conversation down tight and you're comfortable with it, if that person across from you doesn't engage with you, that's fine. They weren't meant to, because you want to have relationships that really work. You want to be able to have someone that you work with that's comfortable and that you enjoy working with. So, okay, getting to the good stuff. Number 2, learning how to script your pitch. This is super vital if you fear the phone and you hate following up. This is what's going to just take that tension right down. So I have props here. I want to show you another one. This is a black leather folder that my daughter bought me for Christmas one year. And I thought, I'm not going to use it. It has a calculator in it and everything. And when I started playing with this language and really crafting and perfecting the script, when I would go out and meet with people, what I didn't want to happen was to not have that answer again, to not fumble with my words, right? So I would take this with me, and this right here, it's been around for a couple of years, is my craft. This is when I started scripting, and this is what it would look like. And how I did it was, anytime someone became resistant, I learned how to handle the response. How? Because I would do it wrong the first time. And then I would learn what it was I needed to say. And when I knew what I needed to say, I would write it down. And thus, the script was born. So what I would do is I would have it with me in this folder. This was Linus's blanket. And then if I was on the phone, it was something they couldn't see. So when they would have that resistance of any kind, I knew how to respond. And if I was sitting in front of them, I just looked professional. I was taking my notes. I was looking at what it was. I was turning the pages. I was listening. And this is huge, by the way, the head nod. And so anytime they would say something, they would say, well, I know, I just don't think this is the right time to work with me. I would turn to that piece and I would say, well, when is the right time? How often do you plan on bringing yourself to this point where you're just so frustrated you can't move anymore? And then they would respond. So that's the beauty of scripting. It's Linus's blanket. It's that comforting piece when you're doing something that's uncomfortable at first. Because here's the deal. You're not going to get good at what you're doing until you do it over and over and over again. It's habituation. You have to continue practicing it. Anything you do that you've mastered, like riding a bike, cooking, it became a habit. The more you exposed yourself to it, the better and easier it got. This is magical because it's always right at your fingertips and you have the answers, so you're not fumbling anymore. So another piece of this, and I've said this about 3 times now because I can't stress it enough. There has to be your passion as part of this script. When you're speaking from the heart, it comes so natural. But often if we have those fear barriers when it comes to selling, that's when we become fumbled and we start stumbling. And that's where I come in. We integrate that scripting. So let's talk about the 2 pieces. So write this down. This is really valuable. I had mentioned there's 2 pieces. There's kind of what I'll call the pre-consultation and then the consultation. So the pre-consultation. Here's how this works. Say you're at an event and you've networked, or you're at some random spiritual place like I was and you run into someone. You're listening to them and you're listening to their needs. And so you start the conversation like this. You're at a networking event. We'll use that as an example. And you're talking to somebody and you say, so what is it you do? And they tell you, well, I run an accounting business, but it's coming along because people, by the way, love to be heard. So you will know the people who need you because they will deliver the information that you don't even have to ask for right away. So when you say to them, so what do you do? I work in accounting. I have an accounting firm. Oh, that's fantastic. How long have you been in business? And they respond, a couple of years. I can tell you, I can speak from my side. Let's say you're a coach. I'm a coach. I would say to them, awesome, that's fantastic. What would you say your biggest struggle is? I know that when we start, there's always a struggle. What's yours? I ask. And this is where they just open up and they tell you. Because like I said, people love to be heard. They want to share with you for two reasons. Because they want to share with you. And two, maybe you have something that you can give them, a little nugget of something that will change things for them. So let them open up. Let them talk and listen. And as you're listening, nod. Because you're affirming for them that it's okay and that you understand. And stay focused on them. I've had conversations, and I'm sure you have too, with people that their eyes are like, or they're just looking out the window while you're talking to them. They're completely not focused. I stop the conversation. If someone's not interested, I'm not going to keep going. I'm not going to waste my energy. It's really vital that the people you spend time with are the people that fill you and give you that good energy. So if you're in this conversation with someone, like I said, just let them go and say to them, I have some ideas and suggestions around that I think can help you. Why don't we generate a conversation, grab an hour on the phone to talk about them? It would be my pleasure to do so. And that's it. Because you know what? 99.9% of the time they're going to go, oh, okay. And then affirm this, add this piece, because I don't believe in bait and switch. You want to let them know that there could be a sale at the end of this, but there's a way to do it that's gentle. So you can say to them, yeah, let's grab a phone call. I'd be happy to share some information with you. I have ideas right now. And you know what? If you like what you hear and you want to know what it looks like to work with me, we'll go from there. Does that sound good? There's your pre-consultation in the bag, and you have them scheduled. And this is good. This is good because you do have something valuable to share with them. And like I said earlier, it's within your integrity to share it. You can help them. We're put here on this earth to serve. It took me years to figure that out. I think I was born late in life, but I get that now. If there's somebody out there I can help in any way to pull them up, that is what I want to do, right? That is what you want to do. That's why you have your service. It's twofold. It's because you love doing it, I hope. You certainly want to be able to know that, and if you're feeling frazzled or fizzled out or burned out because things aren't working in your business, you're in the right place. Because all you have to do is change the language. Okay, so, another piece of this, the scripting. Use those pieces that I just told you about. Write them down and use them. Because before you know it, you're going to become a natural at it. It's just going to become natural. And keep track of it. Because you'll see there's a huge difference. I guarantee there's people that you've been on the phone with, that you haven't closed the sale with, that you probably could have. Simply by just making these little tweaks. And learning to really let the sales piece go and let the service piece move in and have a gentle, comfortable conversation with these people. Yay, we're at number 3. Woohoo! This is number 3. The number one way to handle when people say, oh my gosh, I can't afford it. I just can't. It's not working for me. Now's not the time. Here's the deal. I want to give you more. And I said in the beginning, I prompted you to go to the link below. Go for it. Because in that hour, I'm going to give you lots more of these pieces that I can't do now. And it's going to change things for you. It can be really, really, being in business is challenging, period. Things are constantly changing, constantly. But when you know you're working with someone who's on top of those changes, that is a game changer. Everything changes. It's funny because I was watching this video very recently of, I don't even know who it was now, but somebody who was talking about direct sales. And he made a really valid point. He threw some funny video into his video. And it was women from the 60s having a Tupperware party, the home parties. And if you're in direct sales, you probably know it gets harder and harder and harder to get a group of women together. and have that conversation where you can sell the product. That's why the World Wide Web exists now. I mean, that's what I mean. Things are shifting and changing all the time. So the conversation has to move sometimes from that living room where you're selling Tupperware in the 1960s to what we're doing right now and getting the conversation accurate. So let's take the hour. Let's do it. Let's craft that script for you and really plug in those pieces that you need so you can see things change. And it would be my pleasure to do so. I've seen what it has done for me. I know it can have great changes for you. Okay, let's get to number 3. I've got all of these notes here. And you can email me right now. You can call me right now. And we can have the conversation and we can start doing this and changing the things that we want. I get such a high when people have breakthrough. I know every time I have a breakthrough, it changes the way I feel on every level. Because I think I know we live in a very negative culture. And when we have to go through the motions, surrounded by people that are constantly telling us what we can't have and what we can't do, what does that do to us? It reinforces that within us, and then we believe that that's the case. I know that's not the case. I know that anything is possible. I know that the changes you're thinking about and you want to bring about, you can absolutely have. This I know. So grab your pen and paper. We're going on to number 3 here. Okay, this could totally turn your business around, all of these responses, and I've got a few here. So bear with me. And here's the deal. Lots of people spend tons of time on Facebook. How much time do you think you spend on Facebook? A day. 2 hours? Maybe if you're really distracted from your work, 3. We're just going to take 1 hour that's going to be more valuable than the 3 hours you spend when you are on Facebook. And it's going to change things for you, which is why you're here with me right now. So go ahead and click the link. It would be my pleasure. And I'm looking forward to it, too. We can Skype. We can use the phone. Okay, number 3. The number one way to handle people who say, I can't afford it. It's funny, I have notes here, and I get so passionate about what I do that I completely lose track of it. But there's a structure, right? So the number one way to handle people who say, I can't afford it. Language meets psychology, my friends. This whole head nod thing. That's going to change a ton of things for you. It's funny because I was at a conference recently, 2 weeks ago, and one of the women that was presenting and introducing the speakers, I was one of the speakers there, was a past client. And when she was talking, she was selling her product at the same time when she was up there, and she said, and you're going to come visit me, aren't you? Yeah, you're going to come visit me at my table. And she got a good laugh, but she was using that power, that psychology piece to show people it's okay. It's all good. We're having this conversation for a reason. So the first thing you want to consider, this is vital, write this down. You want to move their mind away from the money. So here is what I mean. When you're about to close the sale, the thing that you're probably fearing the most is telling them your price. And I'm willing to bet because you're afraid of it, you probably cut your price in half. That's going to stop. You are worth what you sell. If your service is $2,000, whatever it may be, keep it at $2,000. Actually, I would encourage you to raise it because you're worth more. So know that you don't have to back down. Again, if that person you're on the phone with wasn't meant to work with you, it's all good. There are zillions and zillions of people out there that are meant to work with you. So here's what you want to do. You want to move their mind away from the money. So let's say your service is $2,000 and you get to the point where you found their pain, you found their struggle, you have discussed it, you have created that sense of urgency, and you say to them, would you like to know what it would look like to work with me? It would be my pleasure to share that with you. And then they say, yeah, that would be great. And then you're going to say to them, okay, well, we can get you started with a payment of $2,000 a month. And I think we can turn all of this around for you in about 6 months. So we'll have your website up and running, and it'll be working for you, and it's going to give you what you've been looking for. It's going to give you those clients that you need. Your website's going to be your best friend, and it's going to start making money for you. And that's what you want because now you can spend time with your family. That's it. So you mentioned the money, and then you moved right into how it benefits them. So, and you can tell them too. I always say to people, I got you. Because I do. So let them know you're their support system. Let them know you're there for them. Absolutely. The next thing is when they fidget about the cost. These are some rebuttals that you can use. And you want to enter into what I was talking about earlier, the 3 strikes and you're out rule. Just let them say no 3 times. Don't go anymore. That's when it gets icky, not just for them, but for you too. And you don't want that. The purpose of this 3 strikes and you're out rule is you're giving them 3 opportunities to understand why they do need your service. So the first, when they respond with something like, gosh, I don't know, I'm going to need to think about it. Ask them gently, yeah, tell me, what is it you need to think about? And listen. What is it they need to think about? Because often it's not so much about the money. Money it can be huge, and it can just be, it's in our personal lives, it's everywhere, and sometimes it's just so big, it's so overwhelming. But it could be something else. And so you want to chip away a little bit and find out what that something else is. Okay? So ask them. And again, that opens up the conversation. If they say, well, I just don't know where to get the money, I'm on a budget. Respond with, you know what, I understand that, and I will tell you this, we are all on budgets, but I don't think this is about the money. I think this might be about you. And then go further and say to them, the language and the reasons that you're giving me, I'm willing to bet, are the same language and the same reasons that potential clients are giving you. Do you see that? So what you're showing them is the energy they're putting out is the energy they're getting back. So if you build websites and you have someone that you know they need your service, that's why they're sitting in front of you. You have to let them know that their resistance is exactly what keeps people resisting them. And you have to show them that. Often we're not aware. We have to see our own awareness. So you are holding up that mirror for them. You're their mirror. So you have to also let them know, write this piece down. Let's say you're talking to a woman named Susan. Susan, you really have to look at this from where you are now. Or rather, forgive me, I got it backwards. You have to look at this not from where you are now, but you have to look at it where you want to be. Because so often we look at things where we are now and it paralyzes us. We think of all the things we don't have. We think of lack. And therefore, what does it do? It puts us in the mindset of lack. So you have to tell them, you have to look at this not from where you are now, but where you ultimately want to end up. And I am the result that's going to fill in the gap in the middle. Okay, another way to handle a rebuttal. If you're in business, you know, whether we like it or not, that we have to sell. It's part of what we do. So you may come across people who say to you, I don't like the idea of calling people and asking for things. I just don't like that idea. So your response to them would be, Susan, if this triggers you, this is exactly what you need coaching around. Now, even if you're not a coach, remove the word coach and put in what you are, because no matter what you do in your business, you add more value when you can coach or move somebody through their stumbling blocks. Does that make sense? So you want to say to them, Susan, if this triggers you, that's exactly what you need work around. And if you're afraid of someone selling to you, you won't sell. And I'm going to help you break that barrier. Right? Does that work? Yeah. All right. One more. When you're talking to someone that says, you know what, I've got to talk to my husband. Don't let them go. Be brave and ask them, can I ask you something, Susan? Does your husband usually make your business decisions? And be gentle. Because here's the thing. When you show them that, you make them realize, gosh, you know what? Yeah, I am a woman in business. Yeah, I do have to make my own decisions. So there you have lots of little nuggets that you can start using right now to handle when people say, I'm sorry, I just can't afford it. And when they come out and say, I'm sorry, I just can't afford it. Ask them, is it that you can't afford this, or you're just struggling with the whole money piece? Because if you're struggling with the whole money piece, I'm that answer. Talk to me about that. Boom, and go into the conversation. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Again, allow me to give you more. click on the link below and just fill out the form. And if you have already, fantastic. I look forward to speaking with you. Thank you so very much for your time today, and I wish you a fantastic day. Bye-bye.